have you gotten to the point with GA4 where you know if it's picking up data when you install it on a site?
So GA4, good question.
Yeah, I think now I'm not too concerned about like using it. I just want to know how to set it up and collect data so that when it switches, I'm ready and I've got data.
Yes. So a couple things I've learned about GA4.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon me. Number one, the wizard in Google Analytics, which is encouraging you to set up a profile for GA4 and prepare for it, is really good. But
okay,
you still have to add GA4 tracking code to every page of your site.
Okay.
That is something I thought was left unclear in the wizard. And so I went through the process, set up the profile, looked, and there was no data.
Can
so
you do
have
that?
To set it up separately.
Can you do that with Tag Manager?
Yes, you can.
That's okay, good. So
another good reason to use Tag Manager is because it is a totally different Google Analytics code. And if you go in to add it to your site through Tag Manager, it knows the code. All it needs to know is your ID. Pop it in there, go.
Okay.
And you can be running two versions of the Google Analytics code. Now, another thing that's a little confusing about Google Analytics 4, which we will all have to move to probably within the next year. So you might as well start collecting data now.
Yeah. I want the data to be there and ready for me.
But there are no views. There is only a profile, or not. It's property, not profile, property.
Okay.
So it's whether with Universal Analytics, the current version of Google Analytics, you have the account, the property, and the view. We've talked a lot about that.
Yes.
Now you only have account and property.
Okay. One question now. So I have used Google Tag Manager, but I'm not quite very familiar with it. When you say you go into Google Tag Manager and just plug it in, do you have something in the game plan that gives more specific about that to make sure I do it right?
I did not add that because there's lots of great resources publicly available on how to do it.
Okay.
And I mostly wanted the game plan to give you tips and tricks on how to use them right.
Okay.
Way I would recommend, if you're using WordPress, is set up the SiteKit plugin.
Yes, I have that.
And then use the SiteKit plugin to use Google Tag Manager.
Okay.
And then go into Google Tag Manager, and from within Google Tag Manager, add your Google Analytics code.
Okay. So go ahead. Yeah, I know I've got that for Universal Analytics. So I now have to do it for GA4.
Right.
And I think I remember when I was doing it for Google Analytics, it's been a while, but I want to say like there was a process for adding it, and I want to make sure. So I'll look up some instructions on that.
It's pretty straight. Well, I don't want to say it's pretty straightforward. That's frustrating when someone says it's pretty straightforward.
It's straightforward, and then I get in there and go, oh, yeah.
It's still a little intimidating. So, why don't I make a note to myself to do this as part of the process, just so we have it all in there. Okay. Once you're familiar with Tag Manager and their nomenclature, what they call things, then it's like, adding Google Analytics, whether it's Universal or GA4, is really easy.
Okay.
But as with a lot of things, there's one way to do it. And then there's the way to do it to make yourself make your life a little easier in the future.
Yeah, that's what, because I think when I went in there and was working with it, I was like, I think I did it. I don't know if I did it right though. So,
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
Just like Google Universal Analytics, GA4 has real-time visitors too.
Okay.
So that's the way to confirm whether or not it's live.
Okay.
Right? You go in and you look and you you walk through your site and you watch yourself in in GA4's real-time metrics.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah.
So we still can use what is it called?
Site Kit.
Yes, Sidekick. So we can still use that. Do you happen to know if it works with Google Analytics 4 like it does with Universal Google Analytics?
It doesn't yet.
Okay.
But I would recommend, even if it eventually does, I would still recommend using Tag Manager to serve your Google Analytics 4 into your site.
Okay.
Now, many people might not ever need the advanced features of Tag Manager, but if you ever do, you're going to be glad you did it. And since it's a one and done kind of thing, just do it right. And then in 5 years from now, if you want to do some advanced stuff, hey, one less step to have to worry about. Plus, Tag Manager is a very light element, so it doesn't really add page speed. Some of these might, but Tag Manager does a good job.
So
yeah,
I think I want to make sure I understand. So when I have SiteKit on my site,
right,
and I have that, I add Google Tag Manager to that, and then I'm going into Google Tag Manager and adding my analytics, my GA4, anything. Okay, like Facebook. Okay.
Facebook pixels, LinkedIn pixels.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Any tracking things.
Different reports.
Excuse me?
Will we be getting 2 different reports when you set up Google Analytics and GA4?
So you will have to look at the data from Universal Analytics in a different location than you will see the data from GA4. It won't double your traffic because they're collecting it using 2 different codes.
Okay.
So right now, my next steps with GA4 are, how do you create the dashboards we look at every week in GA4?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because it's going to be very different. I suspect they might use Google Data Studio to do it. There seems to be some suggestions that they're moving all the reports into Data Studio. I might take some time and figure that one out. What I don't know about GA4 yet, I still haven't been able to figure it out, is tracking conversions. And you know how important that is, right? What good is all the work for marketing if we don't know if it's paying off in an objective way?
Yeah.
So we need to make sure we have those conversions. So that's probably the big reason why I'm not recommending people move to it yet.
Yeah, definitely.
But Google is kind of talking out both sides of their mouth. They're saying, hey, set it up. And then you keep reading and it says, we're not quite ready yet.
Yeah.
Which is it?
I guess at least as long as we set it up to start getting the data.